Welcome to another episode of the Global Activation Party for Synchronistic Wealth. And today I have someone who is an incredible human being, so smart, and just one of my favorite and first mentors in business and in just like in this amazing community of leadership, transformational leadership skills. So she is Sharla Jacobs, and with her husband and business partner Jesse Korn, they have been called the #1 source for turning coaches and holistic practitioners into six-figure transformational leaders. So in the past 16 years, Thrive Academy, the academy that they have together, have earned their members have earned over hundreds and millions of dollars collectively. On the surface, it seems like they're just teaching practical skills and templates to coaches and holistic practitioners to have their first $10,000 a month. However, on the deepest levels, they create these amazing breakthroughs, amazing communities, and create just this incredible global community now of business leaders and coaches who are here to make a holistic, like a planetary holistic world and thriving business. So whether you want a thriving private practice or you want to step into transformational leadership, Thrive Academy that Sharla and Jesse has created is the place to be. So I'm honestly one of so honored and just so floored to have you on here because your wisdom, your intelligence, and just like the things that you guys have created have really left a mark in me. And no matter where I am in the world, and I travel a lot, I always tap back into Thrive. And I travel back to Thrive in California when the world was open to come and attend the events. So thank you so much for being here, and let's put a round of applause for Charlotte.
Yay! It's a party! I get to party with Honey. I'm so happy to be here, sweetheart. I love and adore you. I'm so happy to be here and to have this fun conversation about what does it mean to be a liberated leader and create synchronistic wealth. So totally honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Of course, we're so honored to have you. So tell us a little bit more about you and how you got into this journey and just, how did you go from 16 years ago and to here now, just creating this amazing business with doing what you love and really contributing to this incredible, world of people doing what they love and thriving.
Thank you. Thanks for asking. Well, and I'll just say that our world has gotten a lot brighter since you have joined it, honey. And I just really appreciate the leadership that you've brought into the community, being one of our members, but really stepping into leadership as you've really grown your business and been successful. And just love the way that you've shown up in support of other people. So just super happy to be here. And we met, what did we meet? 2015. Is that right? You came to the Client
Yeah.
Attraction Summit in 2015 in
Mhm.
September in San Jose near the San Francisco airport, something like that. And that was kind of a crazy event. We had over 200 people there, and I just really remember you stood out. Like we had a private conversation, and I was just like, I want to keep her. I totally love her. So it's so sweet to be here 6 years later and to look at everything that you've accomplished. And so you met us in this crazy journey that we've had, and our life is pretty blessed. I live and work with my husband, who is really a genius and an extraordinary man, just so brilliant. And we, just love of my life. And we have two beautiful boys, Jake and Zach. They're now almost 10 and 13. And we really believe that when coaches, healers, and holistic practitioners have more clients, are seeing more people, and as well as doing your own work to climb that, to like ascend into the consciousness that's needed to be able to hold the space for more and more people into that beautiful work, that this is really where the real work of raising the consciousness of the planet comes from. Like for us, this is about making the world a better place for ourselves and for our boys' generation and the generations that follow. And we really couldn't think of a better way than to do that with you. If you're a coach, healer, or holistic practitioner, that's what we're here for. Um, we've probably taught over 75,000 people our heart-based system for attracting clients. And I would say that of our members, the people actually work with us deeply, that our members have earned hundreds of millions of dollars collectively. It means a lot of people are getting the healing and empowerment they need. So it's super exciting. But it certainly wasn't always this way. Back in 2002 was the day I graduated from acupuncture school. And I got my acupuncture license and coaching certification. And it didn't take me long to realize that I knew nothing about sales and marketing. I knew nothing about running a business. And I was actually really bad at it. And I had $80,000 in student loans weighing on my shoulders. And I actually remember there's this moment that I remember standing in the health food store and I had like $200 or so in my checking account. And, rent was due in a few days. And I literally stood there and hemmed and hawed with an organic avocado in one hand and a conventional avocado in the other hand. And like the difference of a dollar was such a big deal that I really thought, gosh, I'm going to like really need to seriously change my lifestyle. This is after I canceled my gym membership and canceled my rock climbing gym membership and like really gone down to bare bones. And it was so frustrating for me because I wondered, should I quit my job? Like, should I like quit altogether, go back and get a job that I hate because I couldn't seem to make my practice work? It was a practice at the time. And it just really occurred to me like something must be wrong in the universe. How could I be given these gifts and these skills to change people's lives if I didn't have the ability to get them to hire me? And I was really at this crossroads. I had to decide, was it going to give up on my dream and go back to getting a job, or was going to find a way to make it work? And I remember actually that moment of like being there and just deciding I'm going to make this work. I made this no matter what decision to go for my dreams and to find a way to make my business work. And I found a mentor who, long story short, he promised me that if I hustled my ass off, I was going to triple my income in, a 3-month window and a 90-day window. And I didn't even know what that meant at the time when I signed up with him. But and I didn't even have the money to hire him. He charged $600 a month at the time. So I actually asked Jesse. Now we're married. We've been married for almost 14 years. We've been together for like 17, 18, 19 years. 19 years we've been together. And I had to borrow the money from him to do it because I couldn't afford it. But and the homework was really, really hard. It was to have a lot of sales conversations, like to actually go out there and talk to people who might be interested in working with me and to follow up with them and to keep my little tick marks of how many people I talked to. And here's the thing is that, I really went and played full out. This is back in the day before Facebook even existed. We didn't have social media back then. So that meant you want to go meet people, you had to go to the Chamber of Commerce, which is like, I don't, I don't know how you feel about those things, but often I just always felt like a fish out of water and so awkward and like way too spiritual for everybody else there. And also way too young. And, it's just a really uncomfortable situation. But I went and I met people and I hustled. I talked to a lot of people about my business. And I followed up. And the reality was I actually I had a lot of conversations, people to work with me, a lot of conversations for people to send referrals. But after the first 60 days, it wasn't going that well. I was still hovering, I was hovering around $1,800 to $2,000 a month, and I still had another 30 days to go. And fortunately, I got this divine download of a heart-based way to attract clients. And this divine download was like a map for how to have a heart-based conversation with a potential client that they practically talked themselves into working with me if it was a good match. And after I got that download, I started using that system. I'm going to share a little bit about this with you later today. I finally had my breakthrough, and I had that third month of that coaching program at a $5,400 month in that last 30 days. And I thought this was a pretty good start. Jesse watched me do this, and then he followed suit soon after. He promised himself when he got enough clients to quit his job, he would do that. And that's exactly what he did. And he knew he had mastered this formula when he got 16 new clients in 1 month. And we're never going to ask anybody to hustle the way that I did. As a matter of fact, if I had all the templates that we provide to our clients now, it would have been such a piece of cake. It would have been so different. Many of our members are talking to 3 potential clients a month and having $10,000 months. And so, I hustled so that other people don't have to hustle anymore. And this system is called the 5 elements of heart selling, and it's based on the 5 elements of Chinese medicine. So I'll share about it a little bit today. And what happened for me is I created that system for my own business, and I used it, and I used it as a way to check in and debrief how I did with each conversation with a potential client. I It worked. I got clients. Jesse followed suit, and people started asking us, like, we never had any intention to be here as, like, owning one of the largest holistic business training schools in the world. Like, never, that was never on our radar. We just wanted to, like, build practices and community. And what happened is a lot of our clients ended up being coaches, healers, holistic practitioners who wanted to know what we had done. So we created our very first live event for them that we now call the Client Attraction Summit. And they loved it so much they referred friends. That was over 16 years ago, and earned went from zero to $175,000 in that first year working together. And we've now led this life-changing event. I believe it's 85 times to over 9,800 people from 29 different countries. And I just I'm really, really glad I made that. No matter what decision, you never know where you're going to end up if you follow what the universe tells you what to do. So it's been pretty extraordinary. And I think one of the things that our results are fine. Like, I don't really talk about our personal results that much, because that's not really what this is about. This is about the difference that our members are making out in the world. And when I take a look at, like, how many hundreds of our members are in what we call our $10,000 a month club, meaning they've had at least their first $10,000 a month using what they learned at Thrive. And many of them, probably most of them, continue to have those $10,000 plus months, getting into 15,000, 20,000 months. And yes, we have graduates who are earning many millions in their business, but like, that's really what it's about, because I see that and I go, okay, I know a lot of lives are being changed because of the work that we do here at Thrive. And I also know that just being in Thrive is such an extraordinary experience of community and love and care. So yeah, so it's pretty exciting, of things that, what's happened for us.
Thank you. Yeah, I love it because not only are you creating that vision, you've like made that vision happen, and then now you're like seeing it percolate and just really changing the world. And it's sometimes it's difficult to kind of hold that vision of continuously changing the world and then growing that vision bigger and bigger. I'm curious to know, how do you see how you mentioned about having holistic practitioners sort of not take over the world, but really being there to support the world as the world evolves. Share with me a little bit more about that vision, because it's just such a moving vision, and being a part of that movement, it's so amazing leading that movement.
Yeah, to me, we're not the only ones providing this kind of work, but the idea is that, meaning, like, teaching coaches and healers and holistic practitioners how to get clients. But for us, when somebody gets, like, a client, their clients get the healing and empowerment that they need, they start to evolve into a higher level of consciousness, and they start to step into their destiny. And that when people are stepping into their destiny, they move into their dreams, they move into the things that really matter to them, they become happier, they're less stressed, they're healthier, all of the things, right? Because our members work with people in the areas of money, health, relationships, spirituality, personal growth, and development. And so when we have this community of people that are working, think of one thriver who is working with like 100 clients in a year, say, that go through their group programs. That's a lot of lives being changed, because it's not just their lives, but it's all the people that they touch. And so when we look at the collective of what we can do together, this is really about stepping into transformational leadership, like being a leader in your life. And to me, business is such a great um, it's such a great vehicle to really step into that leadership and to really become the best version of yourself. And I know, honey, you and I were talking before we got on, and you were talking about, like, this idea of who we are when we launch our business is different than who we become when we have that first 10,000 a month. Like, who you have to become to get to that level of 10,000 a month is not the same person that you are when you're scraping by at 2,000 a month. And I'm talking in US dollars, and I know you have people all over the world, so pardon me and please translate. And then who you have to be to get to the $20,000 level, or to get to the, when we get into the multiple six-figure level, when we get into the seven-figure level, the multiple seven-figure level. It's a different game, so we're always evolving. And I've got my own glass ceiling, and I've got my own consciousness and development that I'm working on to be able to step into the next level for us, and it's kind of blowing my mind. So it's just the game. It's like, to me, it's such a great journey to be on if you're committed to spiritual and personal development as being in business.
Thank you. It really helps to hear it reiterated all the time that there's so much more that you can expand into, and the personal growth that is required. Are those levels quite scary to jump over sometimes when you're meeting that new goal or that new vision? And oftentimes, like what I feel for a lot of people is that they constantly feel like when the glass ceiling hits, they're kind of like on that cliff. What is some of that emotional journey that is required to kind of break through that? To really, is it like for you personally, is it like accepting another level of calling, or how would you describe
Yeah,
it?
well, I will say this, that the launching is the hard. Like, I would say going from launching to the first million is the hardest part. Somebody said to me a long time ago, actually, I think it was Alex Mendozian, probably like 17 years ago, when we were going to seminars and, find like learning from the mentors back there. He said the first million is the hardest. And I would absolutely agree with that. That first million is the hardest, and all the places that you get to be. At this point, I mean, there are times where I do get confronted, but I've learned to manage. I've learned enough tools to soothe and support myself, and I know the self-care that's required, um and it's more exciting than anything else, like where we're at and where we're looking to go, and what we're looking to create with our company globally. And things are just really shifting for us a lot. And there's a lot of unknown. It's like there's a vision of where we want to go, and we can move toward that vision. But there's also this, and I think this is a really important thing to hold, is that the universe gives you this vision to support you to take the next step on your journey. And sometimes, the vision can change. So I will say one of the biggest mistakes that a coach, a healer, a holistic practitioner can make, or any entrepreneur, is letting your fear, your current circumstances, limit your vision. One of my spiritual mentors, who's Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith. He used to be Dr. Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith, and he just took away the Reverend, I understand. But he says that pain pushes until vision pulls. And so, are you motivated by the fear of not having enough money? Are you inspired to fulfill your vision of where you want to be and the impact you want to have in the world? And is it fuzzy, or is it crystal clear? And so it's really important to create that crystal clear vision. And first question is, like, even starting off, do you want to have a private practice where you're working with people deeply one-on-one, and you want to do that like deep dive, emotional, intimate work with people? Or do you want to step into transformational leadership and do group work and write a book and lead the speaking events and do the things, and maybe a combination of both, maybe a combination of both. And I will say that one of the most interesting things about vision is that it really can change over time. I mean, I just wanted a private practice when I started. Like, my parents never made more than $30,000 a year. So I was like, if I made 60,000, I was like, woohoo! I've made it. That was all that my energy body could hold in as a vision at the time. And now I'm looking at, how do we have it's like $20 million company. That's where I'm going, where we're having like huge impact, and I'm so excited about what we're doing. But some other examples are, Sage Levine came to us when she had two clients in her coaching practice, and initially she just wanted to have a full coaching practice, but her vision grew as her business did, and then she decided she wanted to be leading transformational retreats by the beach and include philanthropy. And now I think she did like $3 million in her coaching business last year, and she's actually raised over $500,000 for women around the globe, and supporting women to build businesses that serve their communities and protect our ecosystems. Or Melissa Seaman, who she came to us as a shaman, and she was a really gifted healer, but she was barely getting by, like 2,000 a month in San Diego, not supporting her kids. And she wanted a sustainable income so she could manage her life as a single mom. And she's now using her intuitive gifts and coaching people all over the world. She ended up buying a retreat center, selling it. I understand last year she was really, really close to getting to 1 million. and she's doing the work that she loves, working with high-end clients, just really doing some beautiful work in the world. Or Sandy Zeldis is another example, who she came to us as a nutrition coach, and she was struggling to get anybody to pay her $60 an hour in her wellness coaching. And her vision was simpler. She just wanted to have a successful private practice where she could work deeply with private clients, and she wanted the freedom to spend time with her horse. And now she has a multiple six-figure business doing that deep work with private clients in packages, plenty of free time to ride her horse and to hike. And she actually paid cash for her dream car after mastering our client attraction strategies. So the big thing here is to invite, I just want to invite you to open yourself up to the possibility that your vision will grow as you do. And sometimes the universe has plans for you that you can't even imagine from where you're standing now. Like you can't even imagine. So just know, like, let's get crystal clear on your vision of where you are now and be open to it evolving and changing as you grow.
It's beautiful. I mean, the people that you shared, I saw them, I met them, and it's like, it's just no joke the amount of purpose and what Charlotte was saying, your vision had like the power that it holds when you really truly decide and commit to following through with it. Let's talk about wealth and what it actually means to you because people define it in so many different ways. And how does wealth, like, what does wealth mean to you? And how does that translate into even time, right? The wealth of time.
Mhm.
How do you balance
Yeah.
your, the impact that you're making with, family life and personal time?
Yeah, it's not easy. I will say that. And if wealth was just about money, there are a lot of things that could go by the wayside with that. Like health is really important. Connection with spirit is really important. Connection with my children, with my husband, with my family, with friends. So for me, wealth is really about the richness of life and really doing the things I want to do when I want to do. And I will say this, that money gives, like, it allows us to have choices. Um, when we live in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and fire season is coming again. And when a lot of people evacuated and had to go, like, bless their hearts, I feel so horrible for them. And there was a time in my life where the COVID shut down and all this would have been just insane. And I feel so grateful right now because of the position that we're in, that we got evacuated and we were like, evacuation, we're going to take an evacuation. And we left and went to Flagstaff and Sedona for 2.5 3 weeks or something like that, 3 weeks. And money gave us choices to do that. And that's just one example. Or COVID lockdown, it was like we had to hustle and we had to work really, really hard because our whole business model had to change. And we wanted to, our first commitment was like, we need to take care of all of our members who are struggling right now, and we need to help them pivot. So that was the first thing that we did. Um, and but the money that was available gave us choices. And so to me, it's a lot about choice. It's a lot about freedom. It's a lot about the space to do what I love. And one of the things I love to do most, I'm a hiker. When we get done with our call, I'm gonna go put on my workout clothes and go climb up the mountain over a few minutes away here. And we're looking at having a second residence in Sedona, because we love it there. And these are the kind of things that um, having time, not having to. I'm not saying I don't work hard sometimes, because I really do, and there's definitely hustle times and there's more relaxing times. But it's just that choice, like the freedom of choice. And to me, that's really what wealth is about. Like, is my heart full? And do I have the freedom to make choices?
Oh, so beautiful. Yeah, for sure. And I also know that that nature is a huge part of the way that you recharge as well. And self care is, Jesse and you always talk about like the more wealth that you're creating, or the more action you're taking, the more self care that you also take care of yourself. Um, what are some of the ways that you make that a priority? Is it just something that, daily you're just making sure that that gets included into your life?
Yeah, great question. Well, I'd say one of the things that having money allows is that I can hire one of the best health coaches in the world, right? And so I have a supplement regimen. I have some things that I'm doing now, some biohacking things that have made an enormous difference for me. So there's the day to day, like, do I take the supplements and drink the water and eat the food and, get enough sleep and do all of those things and manage my stress. For me, one of the biggest keys is being out in nature and being out hiking. I definitely would rather go run up a mountain than I would go lift some weights at the gym. But that's me. It's like everybody's different, right? So for me, that's really nourishing and that's really what feeds my soul. So, and that's also my alone time. And I will tell you, I do a lot of creating while I'm hiking. So just for example, we have a create your group program challenge coming up, March 15th through 19th. And a lot of times I'll like get this idea for a challenge I want to run, or like a mini course I want to run in our public Facebook group. And um and I will like write an outline. I'll write out the copy of kind of like what are people going to expect, like what's the promise of it and what are they going to expect to get out of it. And then creating is often done because I am a better talker than I am a writer. So creating for me is like I'm on my hike, I'm inspired, I've got space, and I'm on my phone using the voice recorder app and just talking out what I think I want to say, having that transcribed through the transcribe app, and then turning that into a script. And so to me, it's like I love, it's like, okay, am I in a producing mode when I'm in there? Do I feel like I'm in a creative mode, or am I in a, hey, I just want to relax and I'm going to listen to a parenting course, or I'm going to listen to a marketing training, or I'm going to listen to a health thing or whatever. So it's like, what mode am I in when I go and have that time for myself, or am I just being in nature and just listening to the owls? And it just really depends on how I'm feeling. But I like the freedom and the creativity to really be in nature and to create in that way. And I certainly do plenty of creating sitting here at my desk, having in front of a Google Doc or a Google Sheet, and like what's what's next. But I find that a lot of the inspiration comes in the quiet moments. Or maybe, my husband and I, we call it mental sex, because the two of us really are brilliant together. And we get into this mode where we start talking about ideas, and we have, hundreds of ideas we can never execute on. But we get in this mode where we talk about ideas of what we could do, and it's so inspiring and it's so exciting and it's so fun to think about what we could do. And then obviously there's the choices of what to prioritize. But those are the real fun things for me about really creating from nothing, or creating from just a little idea. And then the hard part, the constraint, is like, what do we actually move on versus and I think that a lot of people take on too much. And one of the big mistakes a lot of coaches and holistic practitioners make when they are launching or when they're trying to get to the next level is they're not sequencing properly. Like I see people who are like trying to launch an online course when they haven't even had that many clients yet. And it's like, well, why don't we step back actually? And like, it's going to be really hard for you because your vision is all over the place and you're not totally sure. But if we can actually step back and do some of that foundational work of creating what we call your client attraction code statement, for example, that is a simple answer to the question, what do you do? That creates credibility, clarity, and confidence in the eyes of anyone you meet. And it's like 100% unique to you, right? Like sometimes people call it an elevator pitch. I hate that term. For me, it's more about how do you inspire someone when they say, what do you do? Where they're like, I need to talk to you, or I know someone who needs to work with you. That's what we want to get to. And everything else flows so much more easily from there, as opposed to like starting from, it's like if you've like hardly talked to your clients, and then you're trying to go out and do this like big thing, but you really don't understand their hearts, and you really don't understand their struggles, and you really don't understand it's like, how do they talk to themselves and what are the words they use? So I like to back it up and slow it down and really do things in the proper sequence.
Love it, which is the perfect segue into the five elements, which are some
Yeah.
of the coolest, just little, like, like these little words and concepts that really can make a huge difference, and it's easy to remember. So share with us about that.
You bet. Yeah, I would say that this is a big mistake as far as like sequencing and order is, we want to get your vision. We want to start working on some of those sabotaging beliefs, because if you don't do that work too, you're not going to be able to do anything that anybody tells you. Then we want to get your client attraction code statement. And that's super, super important in the process. And then the next mistake that a lot of people have is, first, they don't have a really consistent way to attract clients. And, there are three different strategies to do that. I'm not going to get into those deeply, but just know that there are three different kind of tracks that you can take to find and attract your clients so that they want to work with you. Once you start having a conversation with potential clients, if you don't know how to sell your stuff, like, I'm going to say it that simply, right? Like, we talk about heart selling, heart in your chest, heart selling, and the five elements of heart selling. If you don't know how to have a conversation with a potential client, you are going to be stumbling, you are going to be afraid, you are going to be stuck, you are going to be frustrated, and you're going to think something's wrong with you. And the reality is none of us ever learned how to sell stuff. Like, I picture, like, I think of like selling Girl Scout cookies and like feeling rejected, and we're so afraid of how we are perceived by people. I would say that that's probably one of the big breakthroughs that happens as we ascend to the levels of wealth, is that we get less afraid of how we are perceived, and we just tolerate less and just don't, whatever, people can have judgments, like, they're gonna have judgments anyway. I'd rather make a big difference and help a lot of people. In the meantime, let people have their judgments, whatever. Um so so um so when we talk about the five elements of hard selling, this is such an important piece, because for me, when I had that divine download of that heart-based system, that was like a map for how to have a conversation, my question to myself was, as a geeky five element acupuncturist, who also loved people and would always look at every human, like, I'd be having a conversation with someone and I'd be like trying to diagnose which was their constitutional element and where they were out of balance. So it was a natural thing for me to say, well, okay, well, how can sales have the five elements? So how can a sales conversation have all five elements present? And that question, coming out of my passion for the five elements of Chinese medicine, what happened is I found that when all five elements were in balance, magic happened. I would usually have a great conversation. I would often get a new client. They would often send referrals. And when any of the five elements were out of balance, the conversation wouldn't go that well. And the reality is this is all I knew that had me have that breakthrough, like out there hustling, talking to a lot of people and not going that well, started putting in these five elements, and it had that breakthrough in that last 30 days, and that was just the beginning. So we define heart selling as an inspiring conversation that leads to action. And the good news is that when you can find balance between heart and sales, you really step into yourself as a transformational leader. And the reason why this works so well is that in order for people to become your client, they have to trust you. If you are a coach, a healer, a holistic practitioner, the work you do is intimate. And people really need to be willing to open up their hearts and to really like lean into you and melt into you, and be willing to share what's going on for them. And so they really need to trust you, and each element increases trust. Now, I wish I had time to go into all five elements today, like we do both in our book, The Art of Attracting Clients, and in our Client Attraction Summit. But I'll just give you a quick overview here today. So the first element is the fire element. And in a heart selling conversation, when your fire is in balance, you feel like you're sitting around a campfire, like roasting marshmallows and telling stories with great friends. And the warmth of the fire creates a beautiful connection between you and your potential client. And so the quality we associate with the fire element is to connect. The action is to connect. And then we have the earth element. And when you think of the earth elements, like our great mother, that, the great mother earth that provides us with the nourishment and the nurturing that we need. And, the earth provides so much abundance. You don't just get one blueberry on the blueberry bush, you get hundreds, maybe even thousands, right? And when your earth is in balance, you feel abundant. And from the experience of feeling abundant, you naturally want to be of service. And it's like, you're like the sweet blueberry bush bursting to serve people. But if you have too much of the earth element, you've got so many blueberries, they start to go rotten, and you don't value them. You just give them all away, and you might throw some of them away. And in the heart, as a heart seller, you end up in what we call the heart box. We talk about the heart box and the sales box. So you end up in the heart box, where you're giving a lot of free advice. doing a lot of extra free sessions. You're giving, 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 but you're not making the money you need to thrive. And so the quality of too much earth is over giving. If you don't have enough of the earth element, perhaps you've got an empty basket, right? And then you get in that energy of neediness and like a desperation, and that actually repels clients and lands you in the sales box. You like, if you feel so uncomfortable about it, and then you feel like all weird and icky because you like really need that client to pay the bill. And believe me, I remember what it was like when I needed clients to pay the rent. So but when we use the earth element in balance, the quality is to show up in service, to serve, right? And when you show up in service without over giving, people will really, really love it. And so, for example, Amy Sherrill, she came to the Client Attraction Summit, and she was like the poster child for the earth out of balance, like in the heart box, giving it all away. And she was making about $25,000 a year, which is a little more than 2,000 per month. And she had more certifications after her name than she had clients. And she would give these like 90-minute to 2-hour free sessions, thinking that if people just experienced her profound and powerful work, she was like an energy healer, a Reiki master, a coach, and a personal trainer, and she did some other things. And she thought people would just experience the work and would become her client. And what would happen instead is that people would leave the session, feeling really blissed out, like they got what they needed. They felt like they got their problem solved, but the reality is they just got like one step in the right direction, and they didn't have somebody really holding that sacred space for them on an ongoing basis. And when she came to the Client Attraction Summit, she realized her earth element was out of balance. And in the heart box, she was overgiving, she was not receiving. And then she realized it was actually a disservice to her people to not have a conversation about doing ongoing work together, like what was possible for them when they worked with her, at least in a package. And so instead of giving away these long free sessions, she started using our model of giving free consults. You might think of them as discovery sessions, but ours has a very different flavor for it than from it, most of what's out there. And it's all about like giving value and supporting them to move to be, toward becoming a client if it's a good match. And then during those consults, she started having heart-centering conversations for people to work with her on an ongoing basis. She raised her rates, and she joined Thrive Academy Platinum. And then soon after, she had her first $25,000 a month. So she went from like 25,000 a year to a 25,000 a month. So, our invitation is we want you to show up and like find balance in your earth element, so you can show up in service and give great value and have people say yes. So that's the earth element. We've got fire, connect, earth, serve. Then the metal element is all about acknowledgement. Are we really seeing people for who they are? Are we not just criticizing, which is being in the sales box, just being really critical of people? Um, and it's just really, without getting into all of the theory of Chinese medicine, which is fascinating, and we talk a lot about it in our book. But just know that like the metal element is like being connected to the divine, or like the precious minerals and gems that we mine from the earth. And so just really acknowledging other people and really seeing their greatness, and really like honoring people in that way, being respectful, asking permission, things like that. And the key is to start by recognizing your own greatness first. And then when you are in touch with your own greatness, you really acknowledge that in other people. So that's the metal element. So we have fire, connect, earth, serve, metal, acknowledge. Next, we have the water element. And when you think of the water element, like if you're looking at the ocean from a distance, it's pretty. But if you've ever done any scuba diving or snorkeling and you've seen what's underneath the surface, it's mind blowing, right? There's a whole world. And human beings are the same way. We have a certain way we present ourselves on the surface. And then when you really dive in and you're willing to go there and you're willing to be curious, which is the quality of the water element, you discover so much about people, especially if you're willing to be curious when people have concerns about working with you, or about doing the work, or about what they're going to have to transform in themselves. You can really go there and hold that sacred space for people. And if you don't have enough of the water element, you won't dive in to that exploration. So I have an example of Dr. Lisa Cooney. She's a theta healer and marriage family therapist. And she was originally from New York, and she was surrounded by people that was all about looking good. So she decided to move to the Bay Area so she could hippie out and not have to be worried about her physical appearance so much. And but then she realized in her conversations with potential clients, that she was still doing all this looking good thing, but it was more about her accomplishments and her degrees. And then when she came to the Client Attraction Summit and she discovered the 5 elements, she realized she was missing this water element of curiosity, and that she wasn't listening enough. And, she wasn't getting curious with people, and she was talking too much about herself. And so she decided to start practicing curiosity and asking people more questions about themselves. She started to find out what was really going on with them. What were their biggest challenges? What did they want instead? What they tried in the past that hadn't worked? Um, and she said that the water element really transformed her ability to get clients in her theta healing practice. And now, in the first month of playing we do a lot of games here at Thrive. And in the first month of playing a challenge for 30 days, she had a $39,000 month, and she attributes a lot of that success to the water element. So those are the 4 elements that, and a lot of times when a coach, healer, holistic practitioner comes in, they might feel pretty strong in 3 of those 4, and maybe even all 4. You've done a lot of work, and you really maybe done a lot of work around relating to others. But then there's the wood element, and this one is missing for 90 to 95% of the coaches, healers, and holistic practitioners who show up at our event. And the wood element is really about giving people a choice, like a yes or no choice for whatever the next step is. So, it's like if you have too much of the wood element, you become pushy, right? And you go in the sales box. If you don't have enough, you're timid, and you don't take any action, and you don't ask people, and you shyly hand your business card and hope they call, and they very rarely do. So the wood element is really about hard selling is only hard selling because an inspiring conversation that leads to action. The wood is where the action happens. And if you do all 4 of the other elements, you connect, you serve, you acknowledge, you be curious, and you have this really nice conversation, but you don't say, hey, would you like to keep talking about this? Would you like to, have another conversation? Or would you like to get started? Some kind of actual, the first time you do it, you're like, oh, or you want to choke. But you get used to it, and then you just actually get that people want to be invited, So when you start using the wood element, life changes dramatically. And I have another example, another case study here is when Dr. Abiola Oladoke came to the Client Attraction Summit, she came in 2013, and she realized this element was out of balance. She was going to all the networking events, super extroverted, friendly, just funny, super charismatic, charming woman. And she's a DLOS. We call that a does lots of stuff. She's got a clinical practice, and she's got a PhD in neuroscience, all kinds of gadgets to help her clients feel better. But she couldn't seem to surpass the $7,000 a month mark. And she had $250,000 in student loans, and, the clinic expenses and all that. It wasn't working. And simply by putting the wood element in place, going through the transformational exercises we do, really getting the wood element in your bones, simply by putting that in place, that week after she came to the Client Attraction Summit, she had a $15,000 week. And then soon after, she had a $56,000 month. And I think last time I talked to her, she's kind of hovering around $75,000 a month. And, just amazing thing. And the one thing that changed was her using the wood element. So I will say this, that, a lot of people come to us because they're super fascinated by the 5 elements of hard selling. And they're also really fascinated by our 3 systems for attracting clients, the proven systems that bring clients in. It's really one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people join us. So I hope that was fun. And I hope that you got something that you can use right away for all of you listening.
It's amazing, once you really integrate these ideas into your system. And thank you so much for sharing that in such a beautifully just connective way. And as you get the free book that Sharla and Jesse have written about these 5 elements of attracting clients, you can also see how you can utilize them in so many different areas of your life as well. I know the speaker program that you guys run also integrate this, and the more you deepen your knowledge around it, it's you can see how this not only helps you in those one-on-one conversations, which you will master with this knowledge, but also see how it extrapolates to even larger contexts such as speaking or even business meetings and different types of negotiation and deal conversations as well. So I'm sure that I love how the distillation of so much wisdom can be done in such a masterfully and simple design, although it, in itself is just profound. So thank you
Yeah,
so
it's
much
like one of
for.
those like sophisticated but simple, like really elegant systems. And I love it because you can have a conversation with a potential client, and if it went well, be like, okay, where did I connect, serve,
Mhm.
acknowledge, be curious, give them a choice. And if one of the elements is missing, it's like the conversation usually falls flat and doesn't turn into a client. But if all of the elements were there, everybody walks away feeling respected and really good about the conversation, and you're likely to get a client or referral. So it's a really, really powerful system. And we write about it pretty deeply in our book, The Art of Attracting Clients. If you just go to artofattractingclients.com, and you can pick up a free digital copy of the book. So I want
Yeah,
to
we'll have
invite
the links right
anybody.
below from here as well so that you can grab that
Yeah.
straight away. Yeah. So as we're going through like our last bit of our conversation, one of the things that I love about you is the amount of drive and the amount of conviction. And when you do have a vision, you are unstoppable. And I see this happen so many times, even with things that you just have these ideas. And I know you talked about you have a lot of ideas, but when you do decide to do something, you go all the way. Um, I would love for you to share about that feeling and just like share that sense of courage and that sense of belief and faith, maybe in a descriptive way. And then we can also do a little meditation to share that with our audience because, as you're going on your journey of doing your mission and deciding to attract the clients and decide to create the business that you're here to create, you do need that level of courage and bravado to kind of step through that phase and into the next iteration of your vision.
Yeah, I will say at this stage that there's a lot of like choosing what not to do, and that's a really
Mm-hmm.
hard choice sometimes. Like there are some things that I really, really, really want to get to, and I can't because there's only so much we can do in a period. And so that for me has been one of my greatest learnings as somebody who has a lot of the earth element, which is related to the stomach and spleen in Chinese medicine. And I literally have to watch out for putting too much on my plate. Like
Wow.
I love
Yeah.
the five elements, all the metaphors, right? Like the metaphors of like how we experience life.
Do you
So
check
for
in
me,
with your
that's like,
intuition, or like is it a nature thing, or how does the answer come
that
in
is a
with a yes
really
or
good
no?
question. Yeah, I think that there's a combination of intuition. Oh my gosh, my dog has suddenly decided to scrape at the carpet. It's okay, bud.
Hello, Jack.
Jack likes to work next to me. Yeah, it is a combination of logic and intuition for sure, because there is like, hey, the momentum is going in the business, and there's certain things that need to happen, and is this project going to move forward the goals that we have in the business? And that is just a question of like, whatever step you're taking, is it really going to move forward? And I think one of the hard things when you're just starting out is you don't necessarily know. Like there's so much you don't know that you don't know. And that's why it's so important to have a mentor that can guide you to open your eyes to like sequencing, like I talked about, or like knowing what the next thing is to do. Because if you skip some of the stages, you can end up so frustrated, and it's painful. Like you put your heart and soul into this thing, and it's like, we really should have backed up and done this first. And so I think it's really important to have mentorship and guidance and somebody that's like been there before you and who actually has proven strategies and proven systems, meaning like other people. Well, I'll say this. I think a lot of business coaches talk a lot about their results. And it's like, I don't care about your results. I care how your clients are doing. Like, are they getting the results? That's what really matters. And so when you're looking for a mentor, make sure you look at somebody that you resonate with energetically and spiritually, and that you also are like, wow, they've got proven results, and they've got this like system that they're taking people through that's really getting them the results they're looking for. So that's one thing is because my guidance isn't just my own intuition. I have mentors that I talk to. I have coaches that I talk to. I have people that I reach out to when I'm thinking about, putting a new campaign together, for example. We build funnels all the time over here. Like we're in the middle of building 2 funnels right now, and by the time this goes live, they'll be live and out there. But I really I slow down, and because my MO would be to like take on too many projects and then spread myself too thin and not be effective at any of them. And so it really is like, what's going to be the most effective thing that, like, what am I guided to do, and what is the most effective thing that's really going to move forward the vision and the goals. So for me, there's both an intuition and a logic to it that I need to because I have, it's not just me out here, and if I screw up really badly, that it's like there are a lot of people depending on me, my team, my family, all the clients. So those decisions really, really matter. So I want to take my time with those, um and make sure that we're really taking the right steps and not taking on too much. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. It's really nice to and important, especially when you do consider the the breadth and the it's like the family that all of this wealth and all of this like vision and everything supports. It is quite an interesting balancing act to understand, okay, logic, intuition, and then also like the holistic, like it's like a win 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 situation where then you're like, okay, this
Everybody,
is the
yeah.
decision. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. So let's do a little meditation right now. We have a little activity where we invite the speakers to share whatever they would like to share energetically with the audience. So for you, whatever it is that you feel is your strength, or whatever it is that you feel like you want to support the audience. You've already supported us so much just by sharing the stories and sharing the hope and inspiration, and also, the strategies, like such a great balance of everything. But is there anything energetically that you would like to support and to share, some of the things that I notice is like your drive, your heart, and also your fearlessness of dreaming big, and your just like your conviction of like, hey, it's gonna happen and it's right there and we're going together. So
Yeah.
yeah, we can
Yeah, so
open that up.
let's do a short activation here, and I just want to invite, as you're listening, to go ahead and close your eyes and take a breath. And as you tap in to yourself, to your body, to this moment, that you can literally feel the roots from the bottom of your feet growing out toward the core of the earth, going through the floor, through the foundation, through the ground, and rapidly going through all the different layers of the earth until you are so completely grounded you can even wrap those roots around the core of the earth, if that feels good to you. And then I want to invite you to feel yourself sitting up tall or standing up tall. And you can actually start to feel, if you pay attention, you can feel a tingle at the top of your head. And I want you to feel that swirling, like a purple swirl, almost like a mini cyclone there that's really just slowly opening up and rising toward the heavens, so that as it grows, as it gets bigger, you have more and more access to your guides, to spirit, to universe, God, whatever it is that your word is for access to those higher resources, that higher wisdom. As you feel that connection between that opening, the top of your head, and the roots of your feet, and even the root of your own coccyx, your sacrum. You can even kind of feel yourself shaking your tail a little bit, just knowing that you're just so grounded and so connected to source at the same time, so that you become a clear channel. You become an opening for your own wisdom and also what the universe wants to move through you. And so, a question to ask you, and as you sit in this energy, is, what is your greatest contribution? What is it that the universe wants for you to move forward? Maybe that vision is 3 years in the future, 5 years in the future, it could even be 20 years in the future. What is that greater contribution to move toward? And really allowing yourself to take a breath into that. Feeling what it'll feel like when you've achieved that. Maybe getting sounds or hearing words that represent that, or seeing a picture in your mind, or seeing a map, however it is that guidance comes to you. And now to take a breath and knowing that while it's so fun and exciting to think that this is just going to happen overnight and it's going to happen immediately, to know that the universe has plans for you and that there is one step to take in front of you right now. And maybe a big step, it might be a small step, but that this vision, this contribution has guided your way. It's lit the way, the path for you. And so I invite you, what is that one next step for you? It might be to find your mentor, your next mentor, because we have mentors all along the way. It might be to read a book. It might be to, refine your niche. There's so many things that it could be. Just really asking your guidance, what is my one next step? And to take that wisdom and that guidance and just hold it in your heart for now, knowing that you'll remember everything you need to remember from this short activation. And then taking a breath. And in a moment, we're going to come back into the room, coming back into the room with you're being fully embodied, back in your body, feeling your full self, sitting in the chair, feeling your feet on the ground, knowing that you get to take this energy with you, that you get to move forward with access to being fully grounded and being fully connected to the divine, to the source, to that wisdom, to your guidance. And that you can move forward with your eyes open while staying connected to this guidance and this wisdom. And so in a moment, I'm going to count back from 3 to 1. And at the count of 1, your eyes will be open. You'll be refreshed and alert. 3, taking a deep breath, feeling that air fill your rib cage. Starting to move your torso a little bit. 2, moving your fingers and your toes. Moving your spine. And 1, eyes open, alert, and refreshed. And so now the question is, write that down. What was that greatest contribution? What was your vision that you saw? What was that one next step? And then, we start with intuition and then we check with logic, but be careful because logic and gremlins, like sabotaging beliefs, we call them gremlins in coaching, they can really derail you. Like you think it's logic, but it's actually negative beliefs that keep you from moving forward. So to really be able to discern, like make that discernment there. It's actually the small intestine that, and in the fire element, that does that discernment of like what's intuition versus, so and just sit with that. Like, what's that next step for you?
And then take it. But yeah, thank you so much for such a holistic session today. And
Mm.
we're so honored to have you. The links for ways to find out more about Sharla, Thrive Academy, or any other things are below. So go ahead and check those out as well. And yeah, just continuously, you'll always have access to this meditation as well when you want to take that action, when you want to connect with the next thing. So thank you for watching this, and thank you so much for being here today. Really honored.
Mm. Mwah. Thank you so much. So fun. So wonderful to be with you all, and so wonderful to be with you, honey. Thank you.